the legacy which our college has, right? It's since 1947 it got established. So you literally have that legacy. When you talk about our college, you have that network, you have that alumni who are literally there in the industry, across the industries, from literally last 60, 70 years, correct? What will be important is the perspective development which happens these 4 years, right? How do you approach a situation? How do you approach a problem if it is assigned to you? An engineering guy will approach it in a different way, and a non-engineering person who is coming from other background will approach it in a different way, and that's where the difference will happen, and that's where the output varies. Are there, and definitely I mean, if I have to talk about my college days, one thing which will always be with me would be the friends which I made, right? So still 15 years down the line, I'm still friends with some of the closest, some of the folks from my class, right? So that is the closest, I would say, the circle which I have right now, and it's being a pleasure to have those folks still in my life. So that's something very beautiful part of my life so far, I would say. And probably you guys can also connect the dots once you move out of college, and you will remember the circle which you built in your college, and that would help you in the long run. But in general, if you talk about the legacy which our college has, right? It's since 1947 it got established. So you literally have that legacy. When you talk about our college, you have that network, you have that alumni who are literally there in the industry, across the industries, from literally last 60, 70 years, correct? So that you may not find in most of the college, I would say. It's literally since independence you have this college, right? And then you literally have the campus which you have. It is something which is very rare to find in today's days, right? So it's only the old colleges, old institutes which are built 50, 60 years before. Those institutes have such huge campuses and such legacy professors as well, right? Apart from the degree, which is your bare minimum which you will get from the institute when you go out, and the platform which your college gives you, right, to explore the opportunities. There are a couple of things apart from this which you get. So three things I would name. Number one is the courage, right? So you have coming from mechanical background, I would say, at least as per my experience, right? So when you are from mechanical background, you have majority of folks would be guys, right? And some no offense meant, but there could be folks who have literally a lot of ego, right? Because they literally are a lot of smarter folks you will meet when you are in our institute, right? So when you deal with such folks in your college level itself, there is a lot of no you will say to some things, right? And that helps you build that courage within yourself, which you don't realize when you are in an institute. Once you move out of that institute, when you face such situations in your corporate life, it's very easy for you to deal, because the hardest thing, one of the hardest thing to deal and to say is no in your corporate life, right? You will be assigned with 200 assignments, and the capability to say no to them if you are against it, or if you have a different perspective to bring out that perspective in front of the larger audience, it's very it requires a lot of courage. So that is one thing I would say I learned a lot in college, because I've been exposed to some situations to that I mean, the competition which was there in our time, I had a fantastic batch, right? So they will push you to go ahead. If you want to compete with them, you have to push yourself ahead, right? So that helps you build and develop your own skills. So those are two things: courage and competition, that I really admire, which I learned in my college life, and it has helped me throughout my professional life. That capability builds in that you have to push yourself ahead and go ahead of the competition, and the courage to say no, to bring out your perspective, to present your perspective, and to share your opinion with a larger audience. So the one thing which I learned from my business education, which one or maybe a couple of them, right? So Currently, I'm working as a program manager in e-commerce, and previous to that, I was working with ATOS, and I was working and handling more of the operations, IT operations for the vertical with along with my VP. So in both those areas, one common thing which helped me a lot is managing efficiently. So what this business school does is it will push your limit to extreme, I would say. The life will be so hectic because you will have project deliverables, multiple project deliverables, I would say, every single day. So you barely get to sleep like 3 or 4 hours per day, and you deal with various type of stakeholders, right? So people will come with different background, and that's how you learn to develop stakeholder management. That's how you learn to manage competitive priorities, right? You have 3 4 5 projects for a same day which you have to deliver, and everything is equally important. So how do you prioritize those things, right? So these skills are like uh, adaptable skills, right? So it will be useful, be it you are in e-commerce industry, you are in pure IT industry, you go to operations, you go to strategy. These common skills will never go out of trend, right? So these are the three soft skills, I would say, which helped me a lot. The important thing, uh, if you have to compare, right, you can see some people who might join or who might be in similar roles without a formal education, like even engineering, right? So some people come from some different background, but they join not the e-commerce or in general, right? So you may go from your engineering background, but someone will come from maybe science background and they join in a similar role. So how does it help is it's more of a perspective development, right? So your engineering is not just a theoretical learning which you are gaining here, right? So the frameworks, the whatever uh, diagrams or whatever is, models you draw and all, right? So they may or may not be applicable directly when you move out of this college. What will be important is the perspective development which happens these 4 years, right? How do you approach a situation? How do you approach a problem if it is assigned to you? An engineering guy will approach it in a different way, and a non-engineering person who is coming from other background will approach it in a different way, and that's where the difference will happen, and that's where the output varies. And that same happens when you come from a business background, because when I look at the same problem and when you look at the same problem, there'll be difference because I'm coming from a different background, and that's what education does to you. It's not more of a framework or the exams or the certificates which you get. It's more of your perspective development, how to approach a problem, how to approach a solution, why this, why not this. That's what makes a difference a lot. And I just tried it out. Let's see how I am performing and where do I stand. So I just tried GMAT once, and I scored a decent, I would say, at that point of time, because I barely studied for 2 months after office hours, and that too for like a fun sort of, because I was wasting my time and I just wanted to utilize it in a better manner. So there it started, but then somehow my journey at Nike was stopped due to certain reasons, and then came when I came back to India, I was not enjoying what I was doing here, and at that point of time, it was very clear that if I have to move ahead, I will be pursuing business education because I don't want to grow any further in proper coding track, right? So at that point, I decided, and I started after working hours. So every day around 1 or 2 hours bare minimum, if not 2 hours, at least bare minimum 1 hour, I was devoting every single day after office. I do remember one of them was GMAT club and some mock test and all. And then just studied every day like 2 hours, maybe 3 or 4 months was good enough to to get into the institute. So the reason why it happened with that level of preparation, I would say, is because I come with an experience, right? So with GMAT, they consider your profile. It's not just the education which you hold; it's literally your kundli, right? So they start from what you did in your life for the last whatever years, right? If you're 25 years, what did you do for the last 25 years from scratch to till date, right? So everything is counted. So it's not just your GMAT score. Let's say you score 710 and you think that, okay, with 710, I can get into IIM Ahmedabad or IIM Bangalore or whatever it may be. No, it's not like that. It literally, they will go back to your school. They will go back to your degrees, they will go back to everything you did in last 4 or 5 years, and from there, that helps you build that profile, right? So they count that profile plus your GMAT scores, and then that helps you to get in that institute. So that's how that process happens. To keep in mind is with respect to communication, right? So couple of things to start with. First is listening. Okay, so people speak a lot, but they forget to listen. So be it your teammates, be it your work, be it your college, whatever it may be, right? So try to listen to people. Uh, Once you start listening, you will learn a lot from them than when you're speaking. So that is one key goal to follow. So first is listening. Second is building trust, right? So don't don't ever focus on networking. Networking doesn't work in a long run. I'll be very honest. I come with 14 or 15 years of background, uh, industry experience, and I can tell you with my experience, networking will never help in a long run, right? So it can help you 1 year, it can help you maybe 2 years, but beyond that, the only thing which goes on is your relationship with those people, right? So build relationship with people, and relationship is built with when you invest time, when you trust people, when you are open to them, be transparent to them, don't cheat, don't hide, just follow these basic rules, right? So if you have a good friend circle, I mean, just build on that, right? So those friends will be there for you in a long run compared to any other networking which you might get into. And that's very common nowadays. That's where I'm alerting you that networking doesn't help. So build on your relationship, work on basics, right? So hear from people, listen to them, and build constructive relationship that would solve, I guess, 90-95% of problems. The one thing which you could additionally do is it will be more applicable when you go to your professional circle, right? So it's feedback. So it's not just one way that you keep giving your feedback to your teammates, right? It has to be other way around as well. So ask for your feedback. How am I doing, right? So it could be on a skills basis that is there opportunity where I could improve, right? Don't think that a person junior to you may not be able to give you a constructive advice. It's not like that, right? So your subordinates as well as your seniors as well as your peers, consider everyone's opinions, take the feedback and improve on. That would help you in a longer run for building a very good communication as well as collaboration in your professional life. Coming to my job role, okay. So I am currently working as a program manager, and you can come here in couple of ways, right? So one way is maybe a person with 4 or 5 years roughly of technical background. In that 5 years, if he has got an opportunity to work in pure development as well as some of the management sort of roles, right? Like leading a team, which may or may not be possible for everyone. Usually I mean, opportunities in corporate, that's the biggest constraint. Opportunities in corporate world doesn't come when you expect it, right? So you may think that you are a very good lead at even a 3 years of experience, right? But not necessarily everyone will assign you a team to lead, correct? So if you have that opportunity that you have worked in couple of years in pure technical role, and then you have moved on to a team leading role or a management role, and then you couple it up with your business education, come back, and then probably you can join, if not as a program manager, but at least as a project manager, you can join in such domains. It doesn't require a pure e-commerce background, so to say. You can, because not everyone is coming from same industry, so you have to be flexible enough. From the learning, you have to demonstrate, right, that if you are coming from a mechanical background, for example, if you're coming from a mechatronics background, right, and now you say that you want to work in e-commerce, so the next question I would ask you is, how do you, or why are you a good fit, right? So you have to prove me that even if you don't know e-commerce, why should we consider you in e-commerce, right? So that
Right.
adaptability you have to showcase somewhere, that see, I come from mechatronics, but I have worked across maybe two different industries or maybe two different technologies, and so I'm flexible enough and I can learn. I have proved it already. If you have that capability and you prove it, you can join at least as a project manager, because program managers usually come with a little more experience, I would say. So it becomes a little difficult directly with 4 or 5 years of experience, but at least you can work in Designation wise, it could be a little less, but role wise, you can, if you can prove your worth, you can get that. Or otherwise, the second option is you come with 10 plus years of pure IT experience, and then you have already managed a couple of projects in your past organizations, and then you have a little bit of experience or exposure in e-commerce as well, and then probably you can join at least as a senior manager or senior project manager in Baker Hughes or in e-commerce role. Good experience, or rather I would say it was a highlight of my career so far, one of the highlights so far. So I was positioned as an on-site coordinator for one of my projects in Infosys, and I was working with Nike in Netherlands. Uh, it was due to some circumstances that our team or the folks which were there, they were supposed to come back, or some of them resigned. So I ended up being alone there. And literally, I had barely 5 years of experience, and I was dealing with my managers were direct directors there, right? So when I was back with Infosys and offshore, I used to report to my team lead, and that was literally like a person who is having 10 years of experience maybe, and I am 5 years of experience. And it is very easy, right? You are in your comfort zone. You have known people whom you are working with for a longer time, and you have that the umbrella, right? Who is protecting you from some, if even if something goes wrong, there are people above you who will handle it. So you don't really have to bother about anything other than your day-to-day work. However, when I was posted there, and I got to know that the team lead under whom I was supposed to work, she has resigned. It was like a big shock to me, because she was an expert in everything we were doing there, and I was supposed to learn from her. And the day I reached, I got to know that okay, she is leaving as well, and I'll be alone. And it came as a shock first, because when I saw the folks I was supposed to report, all were like literally directors, senior directors in business and even in tech side. And I felt like it, it was a really challenging one, because with 5 years of experience and in a domain which you have not worked in earlier, and you have just been thrown there. So I was a little nervous, but I have to thank those directors themselves and the environment which they provided. They understood from very first or second day that she really doesn't have the experience in this particular piece which she's been assigned to, but they understood the approach which I took. I mean, I was very honest with them, and I was positive with them that, see, I don't know this thing right now, but it doesn't mean that I cannot learn, right? That makes entire difference. So when I showed that attitude that I can learn on the job, and I am positive about it, and I am capable of doing it, and they gave me an opportunity to prove me also. It really pushed me really hard. And that, I mean, I'm really glad that I took that opportunity, and it helped me even for getting into MBAs, right? Because the satisfaction which business had from me, and the relation which I built there with my client, the recommendation which I needed for my business education, right? You need references, that someone has to acknowledge that you worked and you proved something. So that became very easy for me. I never thought that I would need it, but when I needed it, they were like literally ready to give it in a go, and that might have really helped me even in getting my business education entrance. But when you deal with people from different culture background, it is an amazing experience to learn, because it literally opens up your eyes that the world is really, I mean, full of so many beautiful people, and there is a lot to learn from everyone, right? So keep your mind open. So there are some nuances which you learn from different people, and when you work with such people, it literally opens up your mind, I would say, right? Your perspective broadens. You, the way you approach the next time when you deal with a team, even in India, the way you will approach the team, the way you will handle the team will be very different from the way if you would have handled it if you don't have that exposure. No shortcuts, right? There are no shortcuts. Just remember that. And I'm telling you because I am coming from the industry, right? So we usually use the phrase, there are no free lunches. There is no success which is going to come without any cost. There is no there is no money or there is no wealth which will come without efforts. If it is coming through any shortcuts, it is fake. Trust me, it's fake, or it is not going to last long. So don't ever go into that route, no matter what. That is one. The second thing I would like to stress upon is build relationship. I had already mentioned it earlier. Build relationship. Work on your, I mean, honest terms and relations with anyone, right? Be it your friends, be it your colleagues, be it your seniors. So try to look at the bigger picture and don't compare yourself with others. That will literally drain your peace of mind. So don't lose that. Everything happens. It just takes a little bit of time for you to come to that position, and it will happen. Maybe not sooner, but later, definitely. Other than that, I wanted to tell, or maybe that's just a piece of advice is, as I mentioned in the previous point also, right? So don't try to change which you cannot change. Not everything is within your hands. Just accept that some things will be in someone else's control and you cannot change that. So control and learn and change what you can. And that will ensure a major part of your energy will not go wasted in literally banging your head against something which you cannot change. Focus on your technical or your vertical, I mean, wherever you are, right? If you're landing in a business role, or if you're landing in a pure core coding role, or if you're landing in proper whatever you're doing in your first 5 careers, focus on it. And I mean, I'm not saying be a workaholic, but those initial years of your career will be a core, will be a lot helpful to build on, right? So those 5 years can help you change your journey. Those 5 years can help you go into a higher education. Those 5 years can help you literally grow in that technical domain itself, right? So those initial career years are important. Don't try to take shortcuts there and just go into a direction which may cloud your journey going ahead. So those were a couple of feedbacks I would really like to tell the juniors to follow in a longer run. That would really help and make a lot of difference in your career.